wanted to ask you, like, how did you get into filmmaking?
Um, I got into filmmaking. I was enjoyed film, and um, I'd always sort of uh, thought thought about doing different kinds of visual art, and then about 11 or so years ago, 11 or 12 years ago, um, just the career path that I was on wasn't very interesting, wasn't very stable, and I'd always thought about doing something in the visual arts, doing film in particular, and so I decided to get into it because it was it was basically just pursuing what I'd always kind of wanted to do. Um, just from having grown up with a lot of movies in my life, watching a lot of them, talking about them a lot. So it was something I wanted to pursue, and career in life wasn't going uh, the way that in a positive direction. So I just picked up and decided to do film.
And then, was there one particular film that made you decide, or just like your love of film overall?
I'd say it was love of film overall. It wasn't one particular. There wasn't what really. There's not. It's a tough question to answer because there's not really like one particular like moment or film that I like fell in love with and was like, this is why I have to do it. It's really an accumulation of a lot of things like and a lot of like inspirations over the years. Um, Things like Videodrome, in my seeing that in my teens, hanging out at the video store and looking at VHS covers back in the day, and like thinking
Yeah.
about like what's this movie about, what's that movie about. Just watching like weird random stuff, staying up late watching whatever weirdness was on cable, whether it was uh, what is it, Monster Vision or something like that, and just kind of watching like the span of things, and Oscar nomination nominated films as well, and just kind of this whole like spread of different movies and finding those sort of weird off things. And that's really sort of a lifetime of watching a lot of different kinds of things, and wanting to sort of be part of that.
Oh, great. And then, so when did you make your first film? How was it? Like, was it a short, a feature?
My first film was the first film that I made was a short. Um, I made a couple of things on my own right before I started film school, and when I was in film school, just kind of goofing around with some friends, and they were just like some random shorts that and silly things that I was just kind of practicing like the my ideas with, and um, yeah,
Okay.
just kind of messing around.
What was the first?
Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so I mostly did shorts for a long time, and uh, a few just sort of silly internet videos, but mostly shorts for a long time.
And what was the first short you did that you sent to festivals and tried to, get people to see it and stuff like that?
The first one I sent to festivals was my student film. So the film I made in my in the program that I took for film, I studied screenwriting. Um, I took a 9 month course for that, and part of it was hands on, and part of that hands on involved directing a short film. I decided to do a zombie movie that's not dead. The zombies don't even like show up until the very end of it. It's about 7 minutes long. It's called Living, and it's just sort of this slow burn short about a woman who just seems there's no dialogue. She just kind of seems sad, and that she's running out of food, and there's no electricity, and there's no gas for the stove, and you don't know why. The very end of it, she sort of submits to the zombie hordes outside that we don't see until the last minute or so of the film, maybe 30 seconds. Um, so that was the first thing that I tried to do in festivals. It was very, very loose, very rough. I still like the idea, but it was, it was it wasn't my first film, but it was my first one where I was a bit more organized and had a bit more of a crew in terms of my fellow students, and it was still a fun one, but technically it has some problems.
And then how did you? So from your experience now, are festivals? How important are festivals to getting your film out there?
Say that last part again.
How important are festivals to getting your film out there?
I mean, I think it depends. I think it depends on um, it depends on your film, and it depends on uh, how you want to strategize around your film, because I think there's a lot of people for whom the festival route and pursuing festivals is that is the way that they do it. It's the only way they want to do it. That's how they are. That's what's important to them, and I think that's great, and that's a um, very valid way of approaching it. It's not personally the route that I go most of the time. I like going to festivals. I like being selected for festivals. But I also don't really make films that uh, that do a lot of festivals. We've been accepted, we've won awards, but it's not a high priority for me personally. For me personally, I'm much more interested in getting my work, getting my film out to um, sort of the more general population, the more general audiences out there than necessarily the film festival crowd. I like the film festival crowd. They've been very generous to me at times over the years, and I appreciate that. But I,
Has it opened any
I,
doors in terms of for financing other films, for like getting contacts in the industry, stuff like that?
I mean, that's definitely valuable for all of that. Like, it's super important for all of those things. If you're looking to meet people for financing the film, if you are looking for more in industry contacts at
But
higher
in your
levels,
experience,
that is a big part of it. It's not really part of my personal strategy though.
okay. And how do you go about, like, at this point distribute? How many features have you made?
I've made one feature, Meme.
And then how long ago? How was the production of that? How long from? How long ago did you make it? And
It's a no budget feature that we shot over 11 months, mostly on weekends whenever we could get people and gear together for it. So there was a lot of it's no budget. I usually put air quotes around no budget because it's not like there was no money spent on it. But I also think that it doesn't really accurately represent the time and energy people donated to it, the sort of in the intangibles, I guess some people would call it, but like those things. Um, and so because that was the nature of it, we shot it like when we could get the elements together, and we had a very generous donation of gear as well, which allowed us to do quite a bit more than a typical no budget film, I think.
what camera did you use?
Camera. There's a couple cameras used in the film. and our focus was mostly on like working within like the budgetary constraints we had, and putting the most in front of the camera as opposed to in the camera itself. So we shot most of it on a 5D Mark III. This was really soon after that camera came out, and we shot parts of it on a Canon C100. So
Okay, and then how have you gone about it to get that film out there to the audience and stuff like that? What kind of strategies? Because there's a lot of people,
so
yeah, who are just starting out and with their first feature.
yeah.
So
So the thing that I think is most important that we did from the start, as far as getting it out there, is being aware of the fact that marketing was important from the beginning, from production, basically. So we started, like, I know a lot of people really don't think about this until later in the process, or maybe they think about it somewhere in the middle of the process, but we started like all our social media stuff, and I started populating all of that. I think we pretty much right away, pretty much not the first day of production, but I think it was the third day of production. I was before the third day of production. We were getting stuff up there regularly, and we were getting that machine going and seeing what people were interested in. So while we were shooting, we were seeing what people were interested in. I also, throughout the process of shooting, I was trying to keep in mind, as much as I could, how we could capture those materials for marketing. Like, oh, we've got a really cool shot here. Like, there's a shot that's on our poster, that's on all the headers for our social media, which has our lead actress holding the videotape that's at the center of the film. And that we got that, like, we were getting that shot, and I just leaned over to my DP and I said, okay, we're gonna have to run this through another time, just taking photos of it, because again, we were shooting on the 5D Mark III. It made it really easy for us to switch to just like have the same setup and get the photos. There were things like, okay, there's a lot of because the nature of the film, there's a lot of videos within the video. There's beer commercials. There's a film that somebody's looking for, a VHS horror film that somebody's looking for. So we shot all of that, and we shot more than we knew we were going to use, basically so we'd have more things to use to market the film. And every time I had an opportunity to go like, hey, let's do this one little thing. It's not going in the movie, but it's going to be like an extra feature. It's going to be something else. So thinking about that through, thinking about the fact that you need to have these materials while you're shooting, you need to be thinking about that, I think is one of the most important things. And then from there, once you get to the point that I'm at right now, or the point that I've been at for the last year or so, finished the film and started submitting to festivals a little over a year ago, and I had materials ready to go, and I had more that I could do that I just hadn't started yet, and I had lists of like the ideas and things to start with, and I've got all sorts of different versions of video clips to use to promote and images to promote, and I can cycle those through. And even though we're not pushing for people to buy it on digital yet or rent it on digital yet, I've already done a lot of testing over the last couple of years of like during post-production, during production, during this process of the process last year of submitting to festivals, of seeing like on Instagram, what video clips were people responding to? Okay, I can use that when I'm actually asking people to come buy the movie. I think that's super important, and being able to generate those materials, because the thing is that right now in the world that we're living in, we're inundated with constant marketing, constant videos, which means that if you're gonna get people interested in something, it's got to be something that when you're finally asking that question and saying, hey, will you buy this? Hey, can you buy this? When you've got that call to action out there, I think at that point it has to be something that they remember they've already seen something about this. They've already heard about it somehow. And so you have to build that. And so that's what we've been doing. I think you need to build out. I used to be kind of guilty of having to do things other than just the film. It was like, I made a film, that shouldn't that be enough? but now I'm a big advocate for. I've got a blog post series going on right now called Making Mean, which is me reflecting on all of the work that I did and that all the people that I worked with did to get the film from a random idea to what we're doing now with our theater tour. So I think that's a big part of it. I think submitting to
Like, what is
festivals and being
the theater tour you're doing? How many screenings have you done so far, and how is that going?
so we just started our four wall screening tour in Brooklyn on January 25th. So we did some festival screenings, and then from the festival screenings, um, it to me there was a better response from and more interest from people from the communities that we were screening in, um, who were interested in and excited in the movie than there was from uh, some of the festival crowd. So I said, let's just go straight to those people. So we currently have, we did our January screening in Brooklyn, January 25th. We filled up the Stewart Cinema and Cafe in Greenpoint, and had a great response from people there. And then on next Saturday, February 23rd, we're doing our second screening at the Allen Theater in Annville, Pennsylvania, in Lebanon County, right next to Lebanon Valley College. And then in March, we have two more dates set on the 29th and the 30th. The 29th will be up in Buffalo, New York for a screening at the Screening Room. One of our actresses, Kitty Astapowitz, is from Buffalo, so we're kind of doing a hometown visit with that one. And then the next day, on Saturday, March 30th, we're going to be going to the Evening Star Cinema in Brunswick, Maine.
Let me ask you.
And
So, how do you go
so,
about speaking to the movie theaters? For example, like in Buffalo, do you just call them up and be like, "Hey, would you be available to rent the screen out?" Or
so what I did was I have a spreadsheet with I did a bunch of research on independent theaters across the United States. So I have a spreadsheet full of the names of the theaters, contact information, and I just kind of broke it up regionally. And I started here in the Northeast of the country, and I just emailed, or I mean, I went to their website and I looked at, do they have rental options available? What's the contact form there? Like, do they have like info on pricing right there? And everyone that seemed like it was an available option, and or that they had like, if they listed pricing, it was in like a reasonable range for my budget. I reached out to and inquired about dates and inquired about what I could get there. One of the things that I think was most useful so far that I made sure to ask was what options I had as far as advertising in theater. Um, as far as like, can I put a trailer up before other things that are screening? Can we get a poster in there? Do you have a newsletter? Because I can do as much advertising and as much outreach as I can, but all these independent theaters have their own communities to reach out to. So that was a big part of our decision making too. Some places were like, no, we don't do any of that, and they were lower priority on the list, and some like said, yeah, we can put up a trailer, we can do a poster, we can do our newsletter, and so those became the ones that we chose to work with.
oh, okay, so far, and then are so for distribution? Then, do you think the strategy is like, because it must be very time consuming just from the marketing aspect and reaching out and stuff like that? Do you have a team, or are you
Mm-hmm.
working at this point by yourself?
I mean, I have a team, but but the team is mostly helping me with kind of the surrounding work, the like, can you like research and like brainstorming and like throwing ideas against the wall to see what sticks. Because in the end, And that's largely because in the end, I'm the best person to do the outreach for it because it's my film, it's my responsibility. And I'm the best person to advocate for it. So I've got people helping me with it, but in the end, like I'm taking point on it, and it is a lot of time. It is very time consuming, but I also approached it with that in mind. It's one of the reasons we're only doing about one screening a month as opposed to doing like 10 screenings in a week or something like that, so that I have enough lead time that I don't drop the ball on any of
Do
the
you
marketing or any
sell
of the art.
tickets ahead of time through the internet, or how do you go about selling tickets, or is it?
It depends on the venue. Some of the venues just do like at the door, and
For the one,
some
for
of them.
example, that's coming up in PM in Pennsylvania, how is that one?
The Pennsylvania one just is, excuse me, is just doing at. We're just doing an at. We're just doing it at the door. It's just $7 at the door. So it's basically just whatever arrangement I have with the theater. Some theaters, we do it through their system there at the door. Some I sell tickets ahead of time, and we do it there at the door. Some it's just me selling tickets on my own, and people coming and people coming in and signing in. And I use Eventbrite to do that for processing for that to kind of keep track.
Oh, great. Now, did you shoot? Now, have you encountered any like distribution scams by any chance?
Have I seen any what?
Have you encountered any distribution scams? Like we've heard other filmmakers being.
Distribution scams?
Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah. We have. So last year we screened the Art of Brooklyn Film Festival and won Best Feature, Best Narrative Feature. And after that, we did get outreach from a few distribution companies where the nature of their business did seem scammy. I don't know that I would feel comfortable explicitly calling them a scam, but that it seemed predatory, and it also seemed like something where it wouldn't necessarily be the kind of deal that I'd want to sign up for this film. I talked to a few of them just to kind of give it a chance, but I don't think that we saw any fits there. But there were certainly a few that gave me pause and made me go like, yeah, I don't like you. You haven't, you just heard about the film, you haven't seen it, and you're not asking to watch it. And those things were red flags to me, particularly like, we would love to distribute your film that we haven't seen and we're not asking to watch. And like, yeah, and promising a few pie in the sky things that I was just like, as far as how many people they could get to see it. And I just wasn't buying it. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's yeah, that's a red flag right there. And then
Mm-hmm.
have you encountered anything about like foreign sales at this point, like trying to get the movie to other countries?
I haven't approached that yet. Right now, I'm kind of focused here. We have had some interest just from our marketing so far, from some folks in Europe. Just people who want to watch the movie. No companies necessarily, but people who want to watch the movie, saying, "Hey, we'd love it if you brought it to Ireland," or I think somebody in Germany said something. Just individuals contacting us saying, "This movie looks really cool, and I would love it if you screen it here." Um, I'm open to it, but it's not in my immediate strategy.
Oh, okay, great. Uh, well, thank you so much for your time, Sean. And then where can
Mm-hmm.
the links are going to be posted below in the description so people can see you film and stuff like that and reach out to you. And yeah, I look forward to seeing it myself. I saw the trailer; it was amazing. And
Thank you.
It looks very. So, what is the genre of the film? Is it like a comedy or? I was wondering about that.
It's a drama. It's a meme is a drama about a woman in in a transitional period in her life. She like there's a lot of things in flux. There's a lot of things that aren't working for her in her life, and it's really mostly just this internal struggle she has with actually like taking that step to make changes in her life.
Okay.
There's a lot of other things like fit into it as far as what's driving her to make that decision to make the change. There's VHS stuff and there's relationship stuff, and there's this sort of search that she has for the creator of a weird VHS tape. But it's all really this just a drama about a woman uh, figuring out that she needs to change and making the decision to make that change, make those changes that she needs to make. And it's nonlinear because that sort of decision making usually is. I think it comes from a very sloppy emotional place when people make those sorts of decisions, and